You can't turn around and say, मैं director बनने वाला हूँ, मैं ये झाड़ू पोछा नहीं करूँगा. Privilege was to wake up Shabana. And she used to turn around and say, Prahlad, 5 minutes more. I said, take 6. And we were all in love with her.
Also, you're also part of the team who spotted Smita Patil.
She was the most popular newsreader at that time. And she laughed and she giggled.
You have called her a rebel before MeToo movement.
She was way before, yeah. She exploited left, right and center. And at that time, women were always exploited in the film industry. And they were opting for Shah Rukh because he had a very clear priority. He said, मुझे पैसे वैसे के बारे में मालूम नहीं. I want to buy a flat and I'm short of 6 lakhs. Aamir said, bullshit. I don't do ad films because in the industry, people think that if you're doing ad film, means that you're a flop. I said, Aamir, the shot is fine. He saw it 16 times and he had some friends with him. We were halfway through the shoot when the riots took place. He said, fine, but his family was not happy. He said, यार तू मुसलमान है, riot चल रहे हैं, किसने तुझे देख लिया तो फिर मुश्किल होने वाला है.
Prahlad Kakkar, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you.
Prahlad sir, I think I know you now a lot better than before reading your memoir, which is titled Adman Madman, Unapologetically Prahlad.
Correct.
It really covers your life from being an ad filmmaker to your love for scuba diving and starting a production house to your love for food and many adventures.
True.
Are you getting a lot of love right now, and how has been the response to the book?
Very good, surprisingly, considering it's such a big tome. We thought we'd have to use a marketing gimmick by selling it to women by saying that it's a weaponized book. So they say, what does that mean? That means that it can stop a bullet, and if you hit somebody with it, they stay hit.
It has a lot of controversial material also. I want to talk to you about the first chapter, sir. The first chapter of the book is called I Want Nalki, which talks about your preschool days.
Yes.
And you, of course, were born in 1948. What was that India like, sir? Was there a lot of British influence in the society on that point?
Of course it was. We were all brown thabs, no? And we dreamt in English. We studied in English medium schools. And it was only halfway through my advertising career that we suddenly realized that 95% of this country dreamt in the vernacular.
Okay.
And that if you were going to appeal to them in terms of advertising, you have to appeal to them in their mother tongue. Oh. So how do you know what is your mother tongue? The first question you ask somebody, that when you ask him what is your mother tongue, he would थोड़ा confused हो जाता है कभी-कभी. हिंदी है, English है, Marathi है, जो कुछ है. But they think that all of them are mother tongues. They're not. It's not true.
Okay.
The language that you dream in is your mother tongue. So what language do you dream in?
I think in English.
So that's your mother tongue.
But in the book, you have termed yourself as one of the slaves. You were, of course, assisting Shyam Benegal. And you, of course, worked on the films like Ankur, Manthan and Bhumika.
Correct.
What was a big learning from the Shyam Benegal School of Filmmaking, sir?
You have to know everything about everything. You cannot start becoming a specialist from day one. You can't turn around and say, मैं director बनने वाला हूँ, मैं ये झाड़ू पोछा नहीं करूँगा. You can't turn around and say, मैं editor बनने वाला हूँ, तो मैं इधर-उधर भागूंगा नहीं. You know, production नहीं करूँगा. Bullshit. Shyam's methodology of teaching people filmmaking was that you learn from bottom up. And then when you arrive at bottom up, then you decide what you want to specialize in. You don't decide to specialize in something that, see, if you want to be a director, for instance, if you have hopes that you're going to be a director, and you say, I only want to be a director, then your whole understanding and learning about film is fractured, because you only know it from a director's point of view. You don't know how a set is put together. You don't know how the carpenters work. You don't know what a tarapa is. You don't know what the light boys are. You know what a DOP is. You don't know what his job is. You don't know what a lighting cameraman is. You don't know what a light boy is. You know, these are the people who form the flesh and blood of the business of filmmaking. So if you are sitting on the apex like a director and you think you arrived, you are an asshole.
Your book is a very fascinating read, and I mean, the one chapter is which is titled as "Personal Property of Prahlad Kakkar."
Yes.
This is regarding Shabana Azmi's
Shabana
toe.
Azmi's second toe.
Yeah.
Well, she stubbed it during the shooting of Ankur. Now, she was the only girl there initially, and there were a 40-man unit, including Shyam, Govind, and the whole works, all of us youngsters. And we were all in love with her. So we used to wait for a place in the sun. तो एक दफ़े सुबह सुबह एक दफ़े स्पाइन मार दिया और नाम बोल दिया, Hi Prahlad, how are you today? You know, and but the whole day was made. You know, so I had the onerous task of waking everybody up, which is a very unpopular task. Which means I had to get up before everybody else.
Yeah.
And then make the calls and say, call time is said that, chalo utho, you know, whatever you're doing. I should wake up, and the privilege was to wake up Shabana.
Okay.
And she used to turn around and say, Prahlad, 5 minutes more. I said, take 6. You know, and I'll call you back, because that was an opportunity.
Joy to reconnect with her.
Yes. So, and then when she stubbed her toe, I was first off the mark. मैं फर्स्ट एड किट लेके वो बैंडेड पट्टी वट्टी लेके उसको I went and bandaged her toe, and I said, are you okay? It was bleeding. I stopped the bleeding, I bandaged it, I put Nebasarf on it, I washed it with Dettol. And then every day I used to change the dressing. And that became my privilege. So forever, her second toe is the private property of Prahlad Kakkar.
Also, can you talk about meeting then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi? You
Yes.
actually met her at 7 Racecourse Road.
Yes.
You of course went to show her one of the films that was assigned to Shyam Benegal.
Yes.
It was a political film sending a positive, with a
It
positive
was a
message.
re-election film.
Re-election.
See, it was a very critical film, because what had happened was that she had won the elections, but with a very slender majority. And she had a very, very strong opposition, and all of them didn't like her.
Okay.
Okay? So, because they thought she was an upstart. So, ये क्या जानती है politics के बारे, you know. So, she wanted to go to her voting public and say, I have made some promises to you, and I am not being able to keep them, because there's too much opposition to me from those promises, because they want to just oppose me for the sake of opposing me, not because they're particularly interested in the country or in the scope of what is going to happen to the people of this country. And I'm very interested in that. And since I made you some promises, I'm going to take a big gamble. I'm going to go back for a re-election.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask my voting public that if you want me to keep your promises, then bring me it with a thumping majority.
This is in the late 70s.
Yes. So, she asked around, and everybody told her that Shyam Benegal is the man to go to. And so we were called to the Prime Minister's residence.
A very big deal.
Yes, a very big deal. And she expected us to come with scripts.
Okay.
And Shyam had just come from Bhilai, because he was shooting a Hindustan Steel film. And he didn't have the time to actually work on the script. So all of us came in completely unprepared. So in the conversation that we said, she said, ma'am, will you give us a brief, exactly what you want to do with this film? So she explained to us what she wanted to do with this film. And it was a big, big gamble. Politicians, as you know, always hedge their bets, never gamble. It's never double or quits. Okay. You know? So she had the guts, and we realized much later also that she had the guts.
Wow.
And she said, yeah, if I'm going to be Prime Minister, I may as well be able to be an effective Prime Minister.
Sure.
There's no point being, you know, Gungi Gudiya, as it is called her, you know, at that time. So she told Shyam, this is what I want. So what do you think? So Shyam said, then I want you to talk directly into camera and say exactly what you've told me.
Wow.
So you talk into camera and tell your audience exactly what you are talking about. And say, either remove me from office
Or give me full position.
or give me a mandate.
You shot this in Delhi?
We shot it in Delhi in a garden.
Wow.
And Mr. What do you call?
SKL Bhagat.
No, Ipe, who became Prime Minister later on, much later.
I.K. Gujral.
I.K. Gujral.
Yeah.
He was her INB minister.
Okay, that time.
Okay, and he was constantly trying to say that no, ma'am, don't do this because it's too risky. And she would turn and say, oh, come on, stop being an old woman.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Also, you're also part of the team who spotted Smita Patil. She was.
Well, I didn't spot her actually, but Shyam's other.
Well, you were part of the same
group.
Yeah, same group. You're part of the group.
We saw her as a newsreader on Marathi news.
Yeah.
And she was mesmerizing because she was the most popular newsreader at that time because she was so engaging and she was so normal. And she laughed and she giggled and she wasn't like, very sober and reading the news and saying, Abhi ye durghatna hui hai, kind of thing. So we really liked her and we said, let's cast her in a film.
In Charan Das Chor.
In Charan Das Chor. That was the first film she ever did. And it was a play which Habib Tanveer had put up with a folk group in Chhattisgarh. And we went to and the whole unit except me went to Chhattisgarh to shoot that Charan Das Chor. And Smitha was playing the queen and the rest of the cast was all from the folk group.
Yes.
So they were absolutely brilliant. But when they came back, what I noticed was that they were all wearing these chappals, which were like sandals. They looked like Roman sandals.
Chhattisgarhi.
Chhattisgarhis, which we called Chhattisgarhis.
Yeah.
They used to call them something else. And they hated them. They didn't like them. They thought they weren't the height of fashion. They preferred the plastic bojidis.
Okay.
But Chhattisgarh is a rice bowl.
Okay.
So when you are planting rice, you have to go into the daldal.
Okay.
It's up to your knee.
Okay.
The kichad.
Okay.
And whatever shoe you wear, when you take your foot out, comes off.
Okay.
And you lose it.
Okay.
So these are the only sandals that could be worn because they had a strap on the instep and they had a strap at the back. So they remained on your feet. So they used to wear these sandals to actually plant the rice.
Okay.
Now we noticed it and we said, wow, ye kya cheez hai, no? So we found this old mochi who was about 90 years old.
Yeah.
And he said that देखो ये ready-made कुछ नहीं है, one size does not fit all. आपका बायां पैर और दाना पैर में 19-20 का फर्क है.
Okay.
So I will tie these onto you. You have to stand there while I tie it onto you. It's going to take you 25 minutes.
But it saved you. You had another story. You called it Chhattisgarh. You actually ended up selling 5 pairs of those footwear
in England when I was broke.
Yeah.
For £5 each.
Also in the book, there's a chapter where you spoken about the film Bhumika. And that was, of course, based on the memoir of a Marathi actor, Hansa Wadkar.
Correct.
And the memoir was called Santi Aiko.
Correct.
You have called her a rebel before Me Too movement.
She was way before, yeah. She was a extremely strong woman in her time. She exploited left, right and center. And at that time, women were always exploited in the film industry. She came up from Marathi films, went into Hindi films, and she worked in lots of films. But then she decided that...
In the 40s.
In the 40s, late 40s. And then she decided she's going to write a memoir, Sabki Poll Kholne Wali Hai.
Okay.
So Santi Aika was her story, which means I speak. Yeah. Sankti Aika means in Marathi means I speak. Okay. And it was her story from her childhood, growing up, how she was exploited by everybody, including her uncle, who took her in hand and then took all her money and also married her eventually, and then she had to run away. And
the Marathi film industry, people
yes.
from Marathi film industry also.
And she wrote, and when she wrote her book, she never pulled any punches. She took names, she took dates, she assessed how good they were in bed, how bad they were in bed, and how good people they were and how bad people they were. And the book it leaked that she was writing this book and everybody's names were in it. So the whole industry got together to try and ban the book, and they managed. So the book was actually published by a very small publisher, almost like a cycle-style book. And there were very few copies printed.
And what happened to Bhumika? How toned down version was it of the book?
Because she was very controversial. She was talking about sleeping around, she was talking about how many men she slept with, how many lovers she had, etc., etc., etc. So Bhumika, at that time, we had a very strict censorship law, so the story is correct. Her rise and her fall is correct. But the explicitness of what she had written, we have not put.
Okay. Were you always that fearless? Because I'm talking about the chapter in the book in which you have mentioned that how you decided to kidnap a model who actually was supposed to go on another shoot, and you actually sent Satish Shah masquerading as a taxi driver to kidnap her.
Yes. We didn't have a choice, huh? She would have bankrupted us. If she had gone off on the other shoot and we would have to keep the set standing and waiting, we would have had to sell our underwear.
So you decided to kidnap her?
We decided that उसको एक दफे set पे ले आओ, खत्म करो और निकाल दो उसको. तो
And what if she had gone to police station?
Well, she was an NRI. She had just come for a visit to India. We had cast her. So even if she had to go to a police station, she had to walk there because we were in Film City. And we told her, okay, you want to go back, you leave the set and go. So how do I go? It's 22 miles away. So walk.
Also, there's another interesting point that you have mentioned in the book is about the chapter when Leher Pepsi was starting their ad campaign in India, and it went to Vidhu Vinod Chopra.
Correct.
And you have explained very nicely in the book about the difference between an ad filmmaker and a feature film director.
Right. Vidhu was very smart. He was a storyteller, but he didn't know how to concisely tell a story in 30-40 seconds. So he surrounded himself with ad filmmakers. The cameraman was an ad film cameraman. The director, the assistant director was a thing. And he used all the help to actually help him execute that film, and it was very successful. It was with Juhi Chawla and with that singer from Goa.
Remo.
Remo, yes.
Also, can you tell us about, you of course have explained in the book that how an ad filmmaker tells a story in 30 seconds and also matching the world standards, the production values world.
You have to, because all the reference that is given to us by our clients, because they're all multinational clients. Huh? So their reference is all from abroad. And their films cost millions. And our films cost a couple of thousand. So they say, "Aisi banao."
So then how much budgets have gone up from the time you started to now, sir?
They went up quite a bit, because I remember Bombay Dang was the most expensive film of its time, and it cost 6 lakhs. And that same film, if you were to make it, say, at the time we were in a heyday, would have cost nothing less than 2 crores. But today, because clients have got skimpy and they don't think quality is necessary, they've tried to clamp down on prices. So the prices have actually come down. So what would cost 2 crores during our time would be about 1 crore today.
Okay,
but the run-of-the-mill film, everybody does in 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, and they try and knock them off there. But it shows, because you look at the quality of overall advertising today compared to the 90s when we were in a full flow, there is no comparison.
Lyman Lemony Limca.
Yeah, and people still remember our campaigns from there. And they don't remember anything of, even if you saw it yesterday. However, I'll say this, that there are few filmmakers who have stuck to their guns. And I've said, no, either we make this properly, because we are proud, and we're not doing it only for money, we're doing it for passion. And if you're not passionate about a craft, then there's no point working for a client who doesn't appreciate it. So if he's not willing to give us the budget that we require, then why should we work for him?
talking about the campaign, which reminds me, Yahi Hai Right Choice Baby. I'm talking about the ad film that featured Aamir Khan, Mahima Chaudhary, and Aishwarya Rai. You of course directed it, and the making of the ad itself was very fascinating. Please tell us about the whole process, right from discovering Aishwarya Rai to shooting during Mumbai riots.
Yes. Well, what happened was that we were given this film called 10G, which was an American-made film with that young actor, American actor. He was a very clean, good-looking chap who also acted in The Time Machine. And they said, we want to make this film with you. And I said, yaar, अगर हमने ढंग की बनाई तो सब कहेंगे कॉपी की है, और अगर वो भी नहीं बनी अच्छी तरह तो लोग कहेंगे कि यार इतने डफर हैं कि कॉपी नहीं कर सके. You know, because it was relatively in the advertising film circle, not among the audience, but in the advertising film, it was a very famous film because it won lots of awards at its time. So we decided that if we had to do it, the main difference between their film and our film would be casting. So we dug our heels in as far as the casting was concerned. So both Shahrukh and Aamir were up for contention. The only problem was that Aamir had just done a super duper hit, which was Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. And Shahrukh had just done a relatively popular film called Something Ban Gaya Gentleman.
Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman.
Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. And they were opting for Shahrukh because he had a very clear priority. He said, "Mujhe paise ke baare mein malum nahi. I want to buy a flat and I'm short of 6 lakhs. In those days, 6 lakhs was a pretty large sum of money. So if you pay me 6 lakhs, I'll do it. You know? Yeah. And Aamir said, bullshit, I don't do ad films because in the industry, people think that if you're doing ad film, means that you're a flop.
Yeah, or out of work.
Out of work.
Yeah.
And so, एक तो बदनामी होगी और ऊपर से if I don't get the money that I want, I'm not doing it. So we were very bullish on him because he had the clean boy next door look, you know, which we needed for the film. So we fought for him, and Pepsi, ana kana karke, they said, "No, he wants 24 or 25 lakhs. That's a hell of a lot of money in those days." Said, "No, we can't afford it." So I said, "Then you find somebody else to do the film." Yeah. And finally they came around and they got him, and I think we did the right thing because the next series of films we did with Shahrukh.
Yeah.
And they were perfect for him.
But tell us, how easy was it to shoot and the post-production process? It took many days to pass that film because Aamir, being a perfectionist, wanted to
No, you see what happened was that I told Aamir that I saw the rushes and I said, take a shot which I feel that you need to be a little more spontaneous, where you see this girl for the first time, because there was no way in which I would risk him being lecherous. Okay. You know, ke, "Arey, aja, meri bulbul," you know, kind of thing. "Come into my palace and the spider to the fly." That wasn't the case. It was like genuine surprise and pleasure. And we'd done about 5-6 takes, and I said, "I think we have it, but just in case I don't, I'll ask you to come back and just redo that one shot." So that stuck in his head, that maybe it's not okay. So when I didn't ask him to come back, he got a little worried.
And you sent the film to the agency?
And we edited the film and it was fine. What take he had given us was absolutely fine. So we sent it to Vibha Rishi, who was the client, and she loved it. And she said, "Hey, you know, congratulations.
Let's break it and prepare it.
We're going to put it on in the next week." And she rang up Aamir and she said, "Congratulations, what a great film. And we're releasing the film next week." So वो थोड़ा shelf मार गया. So she said, "Why, what's the problem?" She said, "No, Prahlad told me he wanted to redo one shot, and I'm waiting for him to come back to me and redo one shot. And how can you release the film with a with a bad shot in it. So she said, hello, I think you better talk to Prahlad. She called me up and said, he's sulking, you please talk to him. So I rang him up and I told him, I said, Aamir, the shot is fine. I just said, if we need to. I don't know where you got the idea that we needed to. He said, no, I know, even I thought about it and I'm not happy with it, and So I said, Aamir, you think it's your film, na? Actually it's not, it's my film. Just as much as you're not willing to compromise your work, I'm not willing to compromise mine. My reputation is at stake. So I don't think it's fair for you to turn around and question my judgment that I'm taking one patli gali and taking a shortcut, because it would be too much of tam-jam to call you back. I said, no chance. So he said, no, but I haven't seen it. So I said, okay, I've sent it. So I sent my wife with the film to him, and she was pregnant. She was about 8 months almost pregnant. And so she waddled in and she sat down with him on a screen back, and he saw it 16 times, and he had some friends with him.
16 times?
Yeah, he saw it aage piche, kept looking at the shot. And he said, it's fine, Aamir, what's wrong with it? So finally, one of his friends turned around and said, kyun magar mara hai, theek to hai? So then he agreed. He said, okay, I'll let it go.
But also tell us about how it was shot during Mumbai riots.
Well, the riots overtook us actually. We were halfway through the shoot when the riots took place. So we had to evacuate the entire unit immediately, because we were in Parel, we were shooting in Rajkamal. So Vibha actually realized that people were living all over Bombay and they wouldn't be able to traverse the city because there were rioting going on. So she made out a convoy, put everybody in a convoy car, took us all to the President's Hotel and said, I'll put you up and the President, courtesy Pepsi, and when it's safe, then you all go home. So she did that for us. And then when the riots finished, and they were still sporadic, it's not that they finished totally, idhar-udhar danga hota tha. So we needed to reshoot it. The set was standing, and Rajkamal was charging us. So I said, Aamir, we need to finish the film. The set is still standing. So he said, fine, but his family was not happy. He said, yaar, tu Musalman hai, riot chal rahe hain, kisne tujhe dekh liya to phir mushkil hone wala hai. और वो भी परेल के थ्रू. So again I sent my wife to pick him up, and then he got a little embarrassed because a woman willing to go through the jelloing of through the riots to bring him to the set, so he agreed. And then we guaranteed him that we would get police escort, police protection on the set. Police, well, I said, chance ही नहीं है. हमारा इतना बंदोबस्त चल रहा है, nobody is available. So they gave me one scrawny fellow with a lathi, to Amita, who was the production manager. So we had to come and dress up our PMs in police uniforms and pretend to be security,
Today, Lakshadweep is in the news. You yourself is a scuba diver, and you also love scuba diving, and you're also an owner of a scuba diving institute in Lakshadweep.
Well, it was in Lakshadweep till about 10, 12, 15 years ago. Then we moved it to Andamans.
Okay.
Because one of the problems with Lakshadweep was that we couldn't own any land there.
Okay.
So the lease was only for 5 years and then extended for 2 years and 3 years. So it was, because there was so much effort that went into setting up a school and getting people there, because there was no logistics, there was no infrastructure. We were the first people there who even imagined that you could go scuba diving. India mein to scuba diving tha hi nahi. So we had to train all our friends, family, other animals, and then they would tell their friends, and then it was all friends and friends of friends.
How was the response in Lakshadweep when you first time went there?
In the beginning it was mind-blowing because people couldn't believe that something so beautiful could exist.
In India?
In India. I mean, they used to see postcards of Bahamas, Yevo and all, and they used to think that udhar jayenge ek dafa. Mauritius, not realizing that हमारे backyard में है यार.
Also, sir, the other adventure I want to talk to you about, which is also there's a chapter in the book about shooting with a snake and what followed that night.
Well, we were commissioned to do a Bombay film. The male version was a Bond film. And so we needed all the masala. We needed panthers, pythons, helicopter crashes, Bond in his den, you know, Yevo and all that, you know, shooting watermelon. And we couldn't find a location. So the only location we found was Mr. Munkar's house, because he was the head of the agency. They were handling that one. Didn't categorically come, मेरे घर में कोई नहीं आएगा. So we went to Mrs. Wadia and said, ma'am, location नहीं मिल रहा. अच्छा उसको put in a word. So she, Master told him, ठीक है, जाने दो यार, करने दो. So he had an addendum. He said that 6 बजे you have to clear out. And we didn't know why he had put that addendum, but it was reasonable. So we called a 9 o'clock shift and we were hanging around, but the Panther got late because it was coming all the way from Chennai. And then by the time the Panther came and we set up the shot of the Panther, और दिन तो turn around and मैं नहीं छूँगा इसको, क्योंकि ये Panther है, ये live है, मेरा हाथ वाथ काट जाएगा, तो इसको मुंह सिला दो. So I said, no way, I'm not being that cruel, I'm not going to stitch his mouth. So you just touch him, everybody's touching him, what's wrong with you? He said, no, I need a drink. So he disappeared. And 3 hours later we were looking for him and we found him in Juhu at his favorite bar. So we brought him back. By that time it was 8 o'clock. And we were looking at the clock and saying, yaar, film to abhi
Start bhi nahi hui.
shuru hui hai, but we had lots of work to do. And promptly at 8:30, Bal Bunkar walks in with his new bride. And we realized that he just got married again for the second time. And that he wants to spend his first night at home. And there's 40 people hanging around the premises. Cables, lights, Panther sitting on his settee, you know, people roaming around, shouting, screaming, all sorts of things, typical confusion. So he says, get out, you know, everybody, clear out. So we told him, please sir, khatam nahi hua, please help us. And we promised, we cleared out your bedroom, we put flowers on your bed, you know, and we won't disturb you, we'll all tiptoe around, we'll whisper, we won't shout. But please let us complete the film. So he wasn't willing, but his new wife, Roshan, said, Bal, let them do it. So he relented very reluctantly, locked the door and went in. So we continued the shoot quietly, and at 2 in the morning we realized that the python, which was supposed to be in continuity,
He's not there.
is not there. So we looked for him all over, and everybody said, kahan gaya, kahan gaya, kahan gaya? One training terminal says that, I think we forgot him in Bal Bunkar's bedroom because that was our prop room. So we said, oh shit, now how do you do this? So we had to knock on his door, wake him up. He got damn irritated. He had a bed sheet wrapped around him, with hair all disheveled.
Toga?
Toga. What is it? So we forgotten a prop. Can we get it back? It's very critical to the shoot. He says, I'll get it. He said, no sir, you won't recognize it. We'll have to come in and get it. And so we pushed our way in and looking around for it. No bloody python, yeah. Then somebody went to the toilet and saw him there, wrapped around the commode. So he said, I found him, you know. And Bal only heard him. He says, here I am having my nuptial delights. और एक बंदा मेरे बाथरूम में बैठा है, peeping at me. Him, वो भी, not a her, you know. So he said, him. He bounded into the bathroom and screeched to a halt and saw this python there. And he almost had a cardiac. So I was wondering why he was so upset, because he was really red in the face and stammering and all that. Then he finally got it out. He said, you bastards, if I had felt like a leak in the middle of the night and this chap was hungry, what would have happened to the rest of my sex life, you know?
And finally, sir, if you have to tell your memoir in 30 seconds, like your ad films are, and if I request you to choose 10 visuals, what do you think, which visual will be part of that commercial?
It's not a question of visuals. It's a question of how you illustrate what I started the book with, which was when we were in second year college, we had been introduced to Chatkara and Camus, who were both existentialist writers and were very esoteric. So nobody could understand what they did actually. So हम सूडो इंटेलेक्चुअल थे क्योंकि हमने सोचा लड़कियों को पटाने के लिए सूडो इंटेलेक्चुअलिज्म चाहिए. Women don't go by six packs and all, they go by what is between the ears. Yeah. So we said, हम Camus पढ़ते हैं, हम Sartre पढ़ते हैं, you know. So we used to roam around with these books of Sartre and Camus, trying to impress the girls. कोई impress नहीं हुआ because they didn't understand them at all either. But what I got from it in the beginning was, which became the search, which was, who am I, what am I, where am I going? So that is the question I asked in the beginning of the book, because that's where the journey started. Who am I, what am I, where am I going? And somewhere near the end of the book, I managed to actually figure out for myself my answer to Sartre's question of who am I, where am I, what am I, where am I going? And I realized that my journey in life was really with people. It wasn't a singular journey. It wasn't that I was alone. I was in a mahal, and there were important people in my life who stopped in their living of their lives to stop and touch my life. Sure. So each person in my life
will be part of that.
It's an indelible part of me because they shaped my life. So I was clay, and the potter was all the people who shaped the clay.
Sure. I think many more things I have to talk to you, maybe for the next time when we meet.
Of course.
But thank you so much, sir, and best of luck.
See, the biggest lesson of all that this book teaches you, and I don't know whether people in advertising today will ever get it, frankly, because they don't want to know. That is one lesson that they don't want to learn, is that if you can laugh at yourself, you can laugh at the world.
Sure.
If you take yourself so seriously that you can't laugh at yourself, then you're boring. You're extremely painful as a human being. तो सबसे पहले अपने ऊपर हंसो.
Sure.
Then you can laugh at the world.